Going over IRS Notice CP53D. You might receive a copy of this notice from the IRS if you requested a tax refund in the form of direct deposit, but for some reason the IRS was not able to do this. And there can be a couple of reasons we'll get into in just a moment. First, I want to take a brief opportunity to go over two parts that I always try to highlight in these videos that will help your experience in dealing with the IRS. So in the upper right hand corner, you'll see the notice number, CP53D, the tax period. So in this case, this is a pretty old notice example. It goes back to tax year 2014, and the notice date was January 26, 2015. So this is probably the most important part of the notice, other than the information down below. But the reason why this is important is because if there's any kind of a requested action, if the IRS needs you to pay your tax bill or do something, there's going to be a certain limitation on that time. It could be a couple weeks, it could be 30 or 60 days, whatever the process is that the IRS is asking you to do. There's going to be a limitation, and it's based on the number of days from the notice date. So in this case, I took a brief look at this. It doesn't look like there's anything that you need to do with this, but it's always good practice to keep track of the notice date so that if you're going back and forth with the IRS on a tax issue of that takes a while to resolve, you keep the notices straight in order, and then you also give yourself the maximum amount of time to take whatever action may be required of you. Over on the left hand side, you'll see this redacted field. It's actually the taxpayer name and address field. So hand in hand with the notice date, it is important to keep your address up to date with the IRS. For most taxpayers, this happens even if they move, simply by filing the next tax return. If you file a tax return with updated information, the IRS will update your tax record accordingly. However, if you're receiving correspondence with the IRS, it would be good to update your address, even if you're in between tax returns. Even if there's not anything expected of you right now, that doesn't mean you won't get another notice down the line with a request to take some sort of action. And the longer that your correspondence is in the mail, even if it's just catching up with your new address, that's less time that you will have to take the recommended action. So you can call the IRS, go through their phone system, and change your address over the phone, or you can file the official change of address form, which for individuals and most people, it's IRS Form 8822. For business owners, it's IRS Form 8822-B. And we'll put links in the show notes to resources we've created about forms and articles mentioned here, or forms and other topics mentioned here. So let's take a closer look at this. So a message about your 2014 form. First of all, forms 1040A and 1040EZ have been replaced. Generally speaking, most taxpayers are either filing 1040, or for senior citizens, people age 65 or older, they can file IRS Form 1040-SR for seniors. But it says we cannot direct deposit your refund because we limit the number of direct deposit refunds to the same bank account or to the same prepaid debit card. So generally speaking, the IRS is this is kind of a identity theft protection. So if someone steals the identities of 10 taxpayers and then tries to dump all the refunds into one account, the IRS is going to block it. If for some reason this was kind of a mishap on your part or something wonky, then you can always call the IRS. But generally speaking, this is a safeguard for your protection in that the IRS will not deposit excess multiple tax refunds to the same bank account. They also won't let you deposit a refund to an account that doesn't belong to you. So again, that's another layer of identity theft protection. And one common thing that happens in terms of tax fraud is that if someone files a bogus tax return with your with your information, they're going to take as many shortcuts as they can for the sole purpose of generating a massive tax refund, fake deductions, hiding income. I mean, just as much as they can so that they can maximize the amount of refund that they take. They direct it to your bank account or their bank account. And then by the time you even know or get wind that your identity has been stolen, it's too late. They've already got the money. They've most likely moved it to a different bank account and either closed it or it, has some sort of fraudulent registration behind it. So this is all consumer protection from the IRS. Now, the IRS basically says, we'll send you a paper check and you should receive this in 4 weeks. Again, to the address on file, not necessarily to the address that someone else might contact them with. They're going to go through the address on file. And that goes back to keeping this up to date, up here, your address up to date. So if you file the tax return, you don't need to do anything. You can go to this link right here, irs.gov/refunds, to track your refund. If you have not received the check in the mail within 4 weeks of the notice, again, up here on the notice date, then you can call the IRS at the phone number given here. If you believe that someone might have stolen your identity and used it to file a tax return, then you can call the IRS either by calling them, completing IRS form 14039, that's the identity theft affidavit, or you can submit a police report that shows that your ID was stolen. Generally speaking, I think this has been updated to reflect that when you file IRS form 14039, you should attach a copy of your police report. You can also report that to the Federal Trade Commission, and that's a recommendation. That's generally good guidance. Let's take a look at this IRS page just to see if there's anything that wasn't covered in the notice. So basically, you don't need to do anything, or you should file the identity theft affidavit. You can request what's known as an IP PIN. That is a unique identity protection PIN number that the IRS assigns to you. They'll update it and mail it to you every year before tax season, usually in the December to January timeframe. And in the meanwhile, they're going to issue you a paper check. You're not going to get your refund sooner if you call, but you may need more information, or the IRS may need you to call to give them more information, but they won't be able to give you additional information at least until you get to the point where it's 4 weeks or later. So if you don't receive your refund within 4 weeks, you can call the number. So a red flag for people that are working with a new tax professional or someone, your tax professional, your tax preparer, your accountant, whoever it is, H&R Block, they can never, ever direct part of your tax refund into their checking or savings account to pay your tax fee. So sometimes this is an issue for people, but you can never, this is actually something that tax professionals know. People that do this are technically committing an illegal act and can and should be reported. So a tax professional should help you with kind of understanding how your tax refund will work. They can work with you on maybe delaying your billing until you get your tax refund so you can pay your balance, when you get your tax refund, but they can never be allowed to divert your tax refund into their checking account. So we'll put links in the show notes on how to report that issue if it has come up. And then there's some tips for next year. So, don't direct your refund to an account that belongs to a friend or a relative. If you're using a family report account, you should think about alternatives. Four or more tax refunds, I guess, is the limit. So, but yeah, I think that's all we have for this. I'll just circle back to the notice itself just to make sure that we covered all the bases. So this looks, I mean, it's pretty straightforward at this point. You either know whether or not you did file the tax the tax return or not. And if you did not, you should be filling out that identity theft affidavit. So we'll put links in the show notes. You can check out any of the forms mentioned here simply by going to teachmepersonalfinance.com. If you type in the form number like IRS form 14039, you'll see the article up here. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, or if there's another topic that you'd like to see covered in an upcoming video, hit me up in the show notes. Thank you very much and have a great day.